All right, guys, today we are talking about real estate investors and some things that you can do to make sure that your investment is as profitable and lucrative as possible. Some things you can do to protect yourself, so on and so forth. And so here at the Roberts Insurance Group, we work with a ton of real estate investors throughout the state of Georgia. People buying multifamily units, single family dwellings, apartment buildings, so on and so forth. And some things that we recommend, number one would be to thoroughly inspect your property. So if you're not familiar with real estate or construction, or if you're not a contractor or something like that, definitely make sure to hire a third-party inspector to inspect the property. The last thing you would want to do is invest in a property and have issues arise with it that make it not as profitable or lucrative. So hire an inspector, make sure everything's up to code, make sure that the electrical, the plumbing, the heating have been updated and are in good working order within the last 10 years, and make sure that there is no mold whatsoever. So all these things, whether they have been done or not, it needs to be calculated into the decision you make to buy a property as an investment. So if it's something that hasn't been updated, that's definitely something you need to do once you take ownership, and something you need to use to negotiate in the purchase of that asset. The mold is a big deal. Mold will kill people. That's going to lead to lawsuits. Something that will absolutely make the purchase unprofitable for you as an investor. Another thing to make sure to do is to have written contracts in place with your tenants. So have a lease with every tenant. Try to make sure that they're 12 months or longer. Work with an attorney up front to design a lease for you. It's not going to cost a whole lot. It's a very small upfront cost to take on, but it's going to save you time, money, and hassle in the long run. Number three, screen your tenants. So some things that we recommend doing is making sure all of your tenants have their own renter's insurance on file, and then doing a credit and background check on your tenants. So this is going to lead you to have more ideal tenants in your house and in the properties that you're renting out. It's going to lead to less issues down the road statistically, and so it's going to, in the long run, save you a bunch of money in that regard. And then number four, the insurance guy is telling you to make sure that you have property insurance and make sure it is written correctly. So we see all the time people with rental properties that are written as homeowners policies. That's a big no-no. That is almost certainly going to lead to a claim being denied if there's an issue that arises with a tenant living there and it's not written properly. So it needs to be on what's called a dwelling fire policy, or sometimes some companies will call it a landlord policy. But that's one of the things to take into consideration. In that same breath, if your home or property is going to be vacant for any period of time, that is absolutely something you need to communicate with your insurance agent or broker. So, if it's going to be vacant for over 30 days or over 60 days, absolutely make your agent aware of this so that they can either add an endorsement or place your policy with a company, or rewrite your policy to account for that vacancy. Every property policy, besides ones with a vacancy endorsement or ones on a vacant property policy, are going to have an exclusion for things that happen while the home is vacant. So sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes it's 60, sometimes 90. It's all going to depend on the policy that you have. But the last thing you would want to do is for something to happen one day after it's been vacant for 30 or 60 days and it not be covered. So, and then if you're going to be doing any heavy remodeling, anything in addition to just your basic like paint and flooring, if you're doing any major remodel, absolutely communicate that with your broker as well. That it's more than likely that's going to need a vacancy endorsement, as well as coverage for building materials and liability for the construction that's going on. And then lastly, just keeping tabs on your property and making sure everything is staying up to date and in good condition. It's going to keep property values up. It's gonna, and also you do need to keep records of all repairs. That's gonna go a long way with your insurance as well. So if you have a new roof, if you've made an update to the HVAC, if you've updated the plumbing, things like that, that's things that can qualify you for a discount on your policy and help improve your profit margins. But also, just it's good to have good record keeping practices in place. That way, whenever you go to sell the property or whatever the case might be, you can have records of that, you know, the asset that you're selling, the next investor or homeowner is going to be a very good purchase for them. So these are just some of the tips over the years that we have learned the successful investors out there are following. We recommend you do too. When it comes time to renew your policies, or if you're looking to become a real estate investor, give us a call. We can get you helped out. We can help you out there on the insurance side, as well as put you in contact with some folks in the industry that can be a good resource for you. Roberts Insurance Group, Canton, Georgia, 678-250-8133.